Everything was lined up. A massive pay-per-view showdown streamed worldwide. A YouTube sensation turned boxer, a world champion known for one-punch knockout power, and the smoldering promise of something historic in boxing. But now everything's collapsing. The cards are falling, the headlines spinning, and what looked like a red carpet fight has become a question mark. It started with the announcement of the fight. Jake Paul, the influencer turned boxer, locked in with Gervonta Davis, Aka Tank, undefeated, world champion, feared. The date, November 14th. The platform, Netflix. The stage, as big as any fight this year. On paper it looked wild. A cruiserweight type walking around 200 pounds versus a lightweight champ who rarely fights above 140. More than just a fight, it was a spectacle, a clash of worlds. But beneath the flash lay unsettling tensions. Weight disparity, legitimacy questions, and now serious legal clouds hovering over Davis. Paul had built his brand on making headlines, drawing millions of viewers, turning under-the-radar boxing cards into viral moments. He never claimed to be a traditional fighter, he claimed to be a phenomenon. And Davis? He carried real boxing credibility, titles, knockouts, a genuine risk for any opponent. For Davis, this was a gamble. Step into a fight heavily criticized by purists, but also one with enormous exposure and payday. For Paul, it was a chance to silence critics once and for all, beat a world champion and change the narrative. But then the weight and rules drama began. For years, Davis had fought at lightweight, around 135–140 pounds. Paul weighed in his last fight at roughly 199.4 pounds. That's a gap of nearly 60 pounds. That kind of mismatch in boxing triggers alarms. Athletic commissions pulled back. The Georgia Commission refused to sanction the fight at first because of the size difference. The bout was labeled an exhibition rather than a professional contest, meaning it wouldn't count on either fighter's official record. That label alone made many fans uneasy. If it's exhibition, how serious is it? Are both men fully committed? Will it have the same meaning? Rules were revealed: a maximum weight of 195 pounds for Paul, 12-ounce gloves, 10 3-minute rounds. But even those details came with caveats. Davis looked shocked when he learned of the official catch weight and wondered if the rules were really in his favor. Analysts pointed out the reach and height edge Paul would possess. 6'1" versus 5'5.5. Reach difference 8+ inches. Yet, his coach admitted Davis was still dangerous, saying about Paul, "We've got a lot of work to do because Davis could trap and put you out." This wasn't being treated as a walkthrough by Paul's team. They knew the risk. And then the legal storm. A civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade by an ex-girlfriend accuses Davis of battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. While no new criminal charges were filed, the allegations are severe and arrived at the worst possible moment, just as the fight hype had peaked. Promoters replied with a statement. They condemn any form of violence. They're gathering information and say they'll decide next steps after a full review. In effect, fight is still on, for now, but insiders say they're betting the November 14th date will be canceled or postponed. Davis's choice of this fight instead of a rematch with Lamont Roach Jr. also drew criticism. Many boxing fans argue Davis should defend his title, fight top pound-for-pound contenders, not step into what they call a money fight with an influencer. They accused him of prioritizing payday over legitimacy. Roach himself called out Davis for choosing Paul instead of honoring a rematch. The optics. The champion dodging a fighter his own size and instead accepting one vastly bigger for the spectacle. Davis's legacy, critics argue, is being chipped away. On the business side, though, the logic is clear. The size difference, the mismatch, the rules oddities, all of that drives clicks, streams, revenue. Netflix knows this game. A fight that looks unfair, controversial, bizarre is the kind of thing a streaming audience eats up. It appeals to Gen Z, to casual viewers, to those who don't care about rankings, they care about spectacle. Paul's brand thrives on that. He turned combinations of business and boxing into his model. Anyone, anytime, anyplace, he says. But by choosing Davis, a legitimate world champ, Paul crossed the line into territory many believed he couldn't. And by choosing Paul, Davis crossed into territory many in boxing thought he should avoid. The tension in the training camps must be tremendous. On one side, Paul training to overcome size and weight disadvantage by using reach, height, and presumably volume. On the other side, Davis preparing for a monster he's never faced before, someone bigger, stronger, heavier. His coach's comments about glove size hint at the fear, put Tank in 8 ounce, Paul in 10 to make it fair. A shocking admission, legit champion admitting concern. Nobody expected that. Trainers usually hype, not caveat. Now the venue has shifted from State Farm Arena in Atlanta to Kaseya Center in Miami. The reason? Georgia's commission hesitated to green-light the fight because of the gap. Miami said yes. The fight's visual marketing remains off the charts. A GTA-inspired poster dropped, Twitter exploded. The date remains November 14th. Tickets live. But every time a new layer of controversy or legal nuance emerges, it eats into the legitimacy. Even if it happens, it will carry an asterisk. And here lies the core dilemma. What meaning will this fight have? If Paul wins, will anyone believe he beat one of the best? If Davis wins, will people credit him for defeating a YouTuber? Either way, the narrative is tricky. The question isn't just who wins, it's what they win and what they lose in the process. Davis risks his reputation, his elite status. Paul risks his brand being exposed. In boxing terms, reputation is currency. Losing it can be worse than losing a fight. Critics argue this is the death of traditional boxing. When we see lightweight champions fighting YouTubers, when catch weights are 60 pounds different, when rules are altered, what happens to the sport's integrity? Some fans feel betrayed. Others shrug and say, it's entertainment, get over it. The point being, boxing has always balanced search for greatness and mass appeal. This fight maybe pushes that balance to breaking point. Proponents counter, if boxing doesn't evolve, it dies. Spectacles draw new audiences. Paul brought fresh eyes. Davis brings skill. Combine them and you might get a global event that reignites interest. So even if the match is unorthodox, it still pays dividends. Promoters claim fighter skill will show through despite size. They say mismatches have happened before. What matters is what happens in the ring. But mismatches aren't the same as those of old. Historically, big versus small happened rarely and for heavyweights, and the weaker had weight on their side or youth. Here Davis is smaller but elite. Paul is heavy but unproven at that level. This is reversal of expectations. If all goes well, history will note the achievement. If not, it will note the spectacle and forget the sport. One last twist. The fight may already be dead. Reports say the civil lawsuit has triggered the drop of Davis from the card. The promoter has confirmed Davis will not fight Paul as scheduled. If true, then what we actually watched was the build-up of a ghost fight, a phantom event marketed like a blockbuster but never delivered. Tickets, posters, hype, all evaporating. Yet reputation's already impacted. If it folds, Paul will pivot, likely back to heavier opponents or someone his size. Davis will face the mess, legal issues, lost opportunity, trust of fan base diminished. Either path is scarred. And for boxing fans, the damage may be deeper. The hope of big fight lost, replaced by unanswered questions. So now you're left with this. Did this matchup ever have a chance to be pure sport, or was it always an entertainment production masquerading as boxing? Was the size gap too big to be fair, or was fairness never the goal? And in the end, when November 14th passes, even if the fight doesn't happen, who wins? The bank balances? The clicks? Or the fighters who walked away carrying baggage? Leave your thoughts below. Who really benefits if this happens? Who loses if it doesn't? And what does it say about the future of boxing when a lightweight champion fights a cruiserweight YouTube star under special rules with a streaming giant behind it? Whatever happens, this fight is already rewriting rules. And sometimes rewriting costs more than it pays.